welcome to another episode 12 of Forgotten Cello Music with Traveling Cello. Hi, I'm Aaron. Today I'm going to talk about Sebastian Lee. I've done research using a variety of books, and I've looked through dozens of books so far. There are really only a couple of books I've found at this time that contain any information about Sebastian Lee. And the book that contains the most is the Violoncello and Its History by Joseph Wasilewski, originally published in German and translated to English by Stigand. The book Violoncellisten der Gegenwart, by definition, it shouldn't contain anything by Lee since he passed away 15 or 20 years prior to its publication. Now a word about the cellist that I am talking about in my podcast. I've really only played in my YouTube and Facebook channels about a half a dozen cellists in full earnest. Off the top of my head, Gultermann, Klengel, Schlemmüller, and Lee. And I wish to talk about the composers that I'm playing at this time. I have found that the cello and its history, das Violoncello und seine Geschichte by Joseph Wasilewski, and Baker's Biographical Dictionary of Music and Musicians have served excellently for the purpose of this podcast. Sebastian Lee, a little bit about his etudes. Just based on his etude writing alone, he wrote etudes for every level imaginable. He really did. I've at least looked through the etudes that cover these levels, and that's why I can say it confidently. He wrote easy etudes for the beginner, for those who need to acquire basic skills, through those who have acquired basic skills. There are intermediate etudes for the student who has learned up to the fourth position and can utilize various bowings with some facility. He wrote difficult etudes for players who have developed enough to play into the upper positions, including the thumb, of course, and can control the bow quite readily. And then there's virtuosic works for the advanced player who can play any variety of music with ease and who has overcome every technical difficulty. On to the main reason for this episode. Sebastian Lee. This is the entry from Baker's Biographical Dictionary of Music and Musicians, the first edition, 1900. The first edition, 1900. This is from page 347. Lee Sebastian, born Hamburg, December 24, 1805. Died there, that is Hamburg, January 4, 1887. Was also a pupil of Prell and a distinguished cellist. From 1837 to 68, solo cellist at the Grand Opera, Paris. Lived thereafter in Hamburg. Published an excellent method for cello, variations, divertissements, and fantasias, featuring cello with orchestra, variations featuring cello with string quartet, and cello duos. And then the only other book that I am going to quote is from the Violoncello and Its History by Joseph Wasilewski. It was translated to English by Isabella Stigand. This is found on pages 164-165. Two other famous Hamburg cellists are the brothers Lee. The elder, whose Christian name was Sebastian, was born on December 24, 1805, in Hamburg, and was educated by Prell, the father. At 25 years of age, he made his first debut as solo player in his native town, as well as in Leipzig, and then undertook a journey by Kassel and Frankfurt to Paris, where he arrived April 1832. He was heard then with approbation in the Theatre Italien. In 1836 he went to London and again returned to Paris in order to join as soloist in the orchestra of the Grand Opera. He devoted himself to this work from 1837 to 1868, when he returned to Hamburg and died there on January 4, 1887. Sebastian Lee published a considerable number of compositions for his instrument. Amongst them are divertissements, fantasias, variations, etudes, as well as a great number of easy and more difficult duets, of which 3 books, under the title of École du Violoncelliste à l'usage du Conservatoire de Paris, have been published. And now, for the German reading of the same book, of which Josef Wasilewski wrote himself directly, Das Violoncell und seine Geschichte von Josef Wasilewski, Seiten 184 bis 185. Zwei andere namhafte Hamburger Cellisten sind die Gebrüder Lee. Der ältere, mit Vornamen Sebastian, wurde am 24. Dezember 1805 in Hamburg geboren und genoss seine Ausbildung durch Prell, den Vater. Mit 25 Jahren machte er in seiner Vaterstadt sowie in Leipzig seine ersten Debüts als Solospieler und unternahm darauf eine Reise über Kassel und Frankfurt nach Paris, wo er im April 1832 eintraf. Dort ließ er sich mit Beifall im Theater Italien hören. 1836 trat er in London auf und begab sich dann wieder nach Paris, um als Solocellist im Orchester der Großen Oper mitzuwirken. Dieser Tätigkeit widmete er sich von 1837 bis 1868, worauf er wieder nach Hamburg zurückkehrte. Er starb dort am 4. Januar 1887. Sebastian Lee hat eine beträchtliche Reihe von Kompositionen für sein Instrument veröffentlicht. Darunter befinden sich Divertissements, Fantasien, Variationen, Etüden und so weiter, sowie eine große Anzahl leichtere und schwierigere Duetten, von denen 4 Hefte unter dem Titel École du Violoncelliste à l'usage du Conservatoire de Paris gedruckt wurden. Sebastian Lee, the works that I am currently playing now. First Steps in Violoncello Playing, Opus 101. These are 50 duets for the beginner cellist. The technique begins with open strings and goes across all 4 strings using all of the fingers. It never goes above the first position. The second work that I have started in on, 12 Etude-caprices, caractéristiques, Opus 100. As it says in the title, there are 12 caprices, and these are for the intermediate student. Most of these utilize up to the 4th position, and then some of them jump up to the 5th or the 6th position very occasionally, just several notes here and there. The bowing technique is quite wide-ranging, and it requires a good control over long slurs and also quick, frequent string crossings. There are a number of technical demands despite its use of the lower positions. And this is something that I find quite intriguing and fascinating about these lower position works, talking about the Klangelsonatinas or his Sechs Stücke, Opus 26, and Goltermann's Nocturnes, his Tonbilder, his sonatinas. They were very inventive in their use of the lower positions. These Etude-caprices that are solidly in the 4th position and lower certainly deserve some sort of showcase here and there. They're fantastic little works, lots of musical character. Each number does have a title. For example, number 1 is Le Calme, the Calm. Number 2 is Inquiétude, which is worry. Number 3 is Scherzo, that one everyone knows, a joke. Number 4 is Souvenir, which is memory, and so on and so forth. They go on with descriptive titles. That brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you for listening to Forgotten Cello Music. This is Traveling Cello. Remember, play more forgotten cello music. Auf Wiedersehen, and see you in the next episode.